Alireza played pawn to a6 on the second move. Welcome back everyone to the fifth round of the London Chess Classic. Alireza took on Gawain Jones, one of the legendary chess players from England. He's 37 or 8 years old and 3 times a British champion. And as you can see on the screen, the game started with close Sicilian. White is not going to open the position, at least for the moment, and goes for some King's Indian attacks, maybe with bishop g2, d3, f4, or maybe even d4 in the future. It's still flexible. So it's one of the anti-Sicilian lines. And Alireza continues with b5, gains all the space on the queen side and wants to go immediately develop his queen side. So he plays bishop g2. Now he wants to open the bishop, attack the rook, and in this position Alireza plays bishop b7 to face this bishop. He goes knight e2. That's how normally you put the knights in this variation, and he goes knight to c6 immediately. You could start with e6 as well. After castle, he then plays e6. So it's worth noting that Alireza played this variation and this line 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when he was around 2300. So the game went d4. Now white is opening the center with d4. After knight takes d4, here Alireza plays an interesting move. I mean, to me, it's a bit dubious as well. He plays rook c8. He completes the development on the queen side, but this move has a bit downside. The best way to continue was to just take and knight e7. That's how normally games went, the main theory goes. And after a4, knight c6, queen e3, you go b4, knight to d5. Very common theme in such lines, because if you take, I take, check, and you lose the knight. And here normally you just can play knight e5, rook c8, a5, stuff like that. But he played rook c8, and in this position Gawain plays very nice idea here instead of just developing, because if you play bishop e3 you just get worse after knight e5. Be careful. But okay, there are a lot of natural moves here, but you want to stop this idea. So immediately takes, and rook e1. He could also go knight d5 right away, because of course if you take, it's very scary, and check and d6 is coming. And after knight d5, if black plays bishop c5, now you have time to play queen g4 and attack the g7 pawn. So this would have been very scary, could have been scary for black. But he started with rook e1, and now bishop c5, knight goes to d5. Of course, now if you take, you lose the bishop. And here Alireza plays just take the knight. Very simple move. The better move here probably was to just go knight f6 objectively, but this bishop g5 could be a bit annoying. Also, this b4 is coming. Before bishop g5 is a bit annoying practically. So he just gives up the 2 bishop advantage, gives white the 2 bishop advantage, and goes knight f6, and white just takes. I mean, because bishop g5 will just go h6. You cannot really find a better move. Finally, I want to go castle and put pressure on d5. So he just takes, and in this position, a lot of us would have taken probably with the d pawn, tried to exchange queens, but white has 2 bishop advantage and the position is too open. So we take with the e pawn, we open the f file finally for our rook, and we have 2 central pawns, what white doesn't have. But okay, still white has 2 bishop advantage. And in this position, critical position, white play. What do you do here? So white played a move that kind of offers draw, or wants to play super solid, bishop e3, which is very dubious to me, because he could just keep his 2 bishop advantage, like bishop f3 or bishop f4, for example. The line could go like this, and after like castle, I could start with queen b6 as well to attack the pawn on f2, queen e2, castle, and after rook d1 here, it's a nice position. You can pause the video and find the best move, which is e5. And the idea is rook f e8, and now the idea is to take on f2, take on e5, and go knight g4 tactics everywhere, opening files over the king. So this would have been interesting, but anyways, bishop f3 or bishop f4 was still better objectively, keeping his 2 bishop advantage, but he just goes for exchanging 2 bishops. Alireza goes queen b6, very natural move, c3. You don't want to allow b4, your pawn gets fixed. Also in some lines c2 was hanging. Alireza just goes castle, and here he plays another dubious move. The queen is misplaced here, and it was just much better to just go queen d2, so be able to recapture with the rook. But Alireza doesn't punish it objectively the best and plays a very interesting move, h5. So why this move is a bit mistaken? Because after trades, this endgame is a bit better for black after rook c5, rook c8, a5, b4, and this bishop is hitting nowhere and I have two central pawns. So this is always better a bit for black. But Alireza just go h4, h5, and he wants to build this g4 square for his knight to go after this f2 pawn. So h3, h4, very common theme in such positions. You want to provoke white to put even more pawns on the same color of his bishop and also open more diagonals files over the king. And now look at this idea, knight h7, maybe even immediately knight g5, because if you take rook f2 is coming. So here Gawain plays rook d1, and after rook f7 guarding the pawn, he says no, I cannot allow Alireza to trick me, come play knight g5. Immediately he plays f4, so you can see he's making his king weak. And in this position Alireza thought around 40 minutes, and he found the best idea. Rook takes f4 because the bishop cannot take, it's pinned, but you are giving up the d7 pawn, and now knight g5, throwing everything to the king. Bishop takes c5, queen takes c5 check, queen e3, all normal. You have to exchange queens because the pawn on e6 is weak. I mean, black doesn't have anything better than exchanging queens here. I mean, because also the rook is hanging. So you just take, and in this position, another critical position where Alireza could probably win the game with this move. He rushed a little bit and he played b4, which looks like a very interesting move and very aggressive, but he forgot about something that white can do in the future and attack the knight. A better move was just to go king h7 double exclamation mark, and whenever you go here I can guard the knight with either king g6 or king h6. For example, if you play a3, I could put pressure on the king because white's king is weaker than black's king. White's king is under huge pressure, and now I'm going to play rook f2. So you have to come back kind of with rook d2, and now I guard the knight and I start pushing pawns with a5, b4. But he didn't find it, he played b4, and after rook e5, trade, because you cannot take the knight, I play c2, and this is one check, I just go king f8, nothing's happening. So he takes back, and knight f3 check, there was no better move, the knight could not be defended, so we trade, and the king looks a bit weak. He takes the pawn, rook f8, and now we are threatening mate in 2. So this rook is already occupied with this pawn. So you use this rook to stop all the checks on the second rank. And rook d2, very nice move to equalize the position. And here Alireza just takes the pawn h3. But here he could try rook g3 check, which could have been very tricky, because if you go with the king here, then this rook comes here and it's tricky. So rook g2, rook h3. And this position after take, there is rook d8 going to create some mating network around the king. And if you, for example, play c4, immediately you lose because of this, and h3, h2, the pawn is going to be a queen. But okay, you don't play c4 here, you just go here, and after check here, you try to create network, checkmate net over the black's king, and I can escape, and this could have been a very interesting try to win for black. But Alireza just takes the pawn on h3, and after rook a6, he takes the other pawn as well, and now after g5, he's going to play g6, so he plays king h7, and this position, even if you lose this pawn for white, it's a draw, because white's king is just chilling on h2. So after rook here, h3, rook d4, he's just waiting. After king g6, and he just goes rook d3, he doesn't care. Also the pawn on d3, h3 is hanging now. He just wants to exchange one pair of rooks. Alireza trades, and rook d7, he offered draw probably, and Alireza accepted. Alireza got, with this draw, 3.5 points out of 5 games. Still in a good position in the second place. Depends on the other results. Apparently Vityugov won, and Nodirbek is still playing. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this recap. If you like the video, make sure to like it and subscribe, and see you guys in the next recaps. The only rest day is on 3rd of December, so we have always everyday games. And tomorrow, Alireza is going to play against Abhimanyu Mishra. It's gonna be very interesting. Tomorrow we have a youngster, finally. And yeah, this game was very interesting. This a6 was not a troll and was a move that Alireza played it long time ago as well. So it was a very nice strategical game, positional game, and a lot of good ideas to have takeaways. And yeah, this King H7 is my main takeaway of this game. Could have been very interesting try to win the game. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next recaps. Ciao, ciao.